There's a ghost haunting Bend, Oregon. It's the last of its kind, a relic of a dead empire. A blue and yellow sign that once lit up nearly every town in America now stands alone against the dying light. This is the last Blockbuster on Earth. But how did an empire with over 9,000 stores, a $6 billion a year titan, vanish into thin air? The answer is a story of arrogance, a missed opportunity, and one very, very expensive laugh. Rewind to the 1990s. Blockbuster was more than a store. It was a cultural institution. It was king. Remember Blockbuster Night? The sheer excitement of it. You'd walk through those automatic doors and get hit by the smell of popcorn and plastic VHS cases. You'd race to the new releases wall, praying the last copy of that hot new movie was still there. The iconic blue and yellow ticket stub in your hand felt like a golden ticket. It was a ritual, a cornerstone of family entertainment. Blockbuster wasn't just in the movie business, it was in the business of creating memories. But beneath this shiny family-friendly exterior, Blockbuster had a dirty little secret. A secret that generated $800 million a year, a staggering 16% of their total profits. It was called the late fee. We all knew the feeling. The panic when you realized that copy of Jurassic Park was 3 days overdue. The shame of walking up to the counter, knowing you were about to be penalized for your own forgetfulness. Blockbuster's business model was built on profiting from customer mistakes. Inside the company, they had a name for this strategy: managed dissatisfaction. They knew we hated late fees. They knew it created bad feelings. But they didn't care. They were a monopoly. Where else were you going to go? In 1997, one of their victims was a software engineer named Reed Hastings. He had rented Apollo 13. Life got busy, and he completely forgot about the tape. Weeks later, he found it. When he returned it, he was slapped with a $40 late fee. $40. That was more than the cost of buying the movie. Hastings was mortified. He was so embarrassed he couldn't even bring himself to tell his wife. That $40 fee felt less like a penalty and more like a personal insult. On his drive home, fuming, that humiliation sparked an idea. He thought about his gym membership. He paid a flat fee every month. Some months he went a lot, some months he didn't go at all, but the price was always the same. There was no penalty, no shame. It was simple and fair. Why? He wondered. Couldn't movie rentals work the same way? The system wasn't just inconvenient, it was broken. It was disrespectful to the customer. And right there, in that moment of frustration, the seed for a revolution was planted. In 1998, Reed Hastings launched a new company called Netflix. The idea was radical, almost absurd at the time. DVDs, delivered by mail, in little red envelopes. You could keep a movie for as long as you wanted, no due dates, and most importantly, absolutely no late fees. It was a direct attack on Blockbuster's most hated feature. But it was far from an instant success. The business struggled. People were used to the instant gratification of Blockbuster. The idea of ordering a movie online and then waiting for it to arrive in the mail seemed strange and slow. Investors were skeptical. Netflix was bleeding money, burning through cash at an alarming rate. It was a brilliant idea that seemed destined to fail. Then, in the year 2000, the world changed. The dot-com bubble burst. The tech industry, once a fountain of endless cash, dried up overnight. Investors panicked and fled. For a small, unprofitable startup like Netflix, it was a death sentence. They were on the brink of bankruptcy, just weeks away from having to shut down completely. Hastings was out of options. He was cornered, desperate. So he decided to do the unthinkable: surrender to the enemy. He would try to sell his failing company to Blockbuster. Hastings and his small team boarded a plane to Dallas, Texas, home of Blockbuster's global headquarters. Imagine that flight, the nervous energy. These were scrappy startup guys in ill-fitting suits, about to walk into the lion's den. They were going to beg the king of home entertainment to buy their little passion project. They were David, flying coach, to meet a Goliath who lived in a skyscraper. Blockbuster's headquarters was exactly what you'd expect: an intimidating glass tower. Their offices perched on the 23rd floor, looking down on the world. It was a fortress of corporate power, designed to make visitors feel small. And sitting on the throne was CEO John Antioco. Antioco was a retail legend, a brilliant brick-and-mortar guy who had made Blockbuster an unstoppable force. But he saw the internet as a sideshow, a fad. To him, online business was a joke. The Netflix team was ushered into a vast, luxurious boardroom. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. On one side, the polished, confident Blockbuster executives in their expensive suits. On the other, Hastings and his crew, looking pale and exhausted. Hastings made his pitch. He proposed a partnership. Netflix, with its tech expertise, would become Blockbuster's online brand. They would run Blockbuster.com, bringing the giant into the digital age. They would handle the mail-order side of the business, while Blockbuster focused on its stores. It was a lifeline for both of them. The Blockbuster executives seemed unimpressed. The conversation was going nowhere. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, Hastings laid his cards on the table. He gave them the final offer. Forget a partnership. He would sell them the entire company, the technology, the brand, the subscribers, everything. The price: $50 million. And then it happened. The moment that sealed Blockbuster's fate. John Antioco didn't get angry, he didn't negotiate, he didn't even politely decline. He laughed. It wasn't a small chuckle, it was a loud, arrogant, dismissive laugh. He struggled to keep a straight face as he looked at these desperate men. $50 million for what he called their very small niche business. The message was clear: you are nothing. Your company is a joke. The meeting was over. The Netflix team was essentially kicked out of the building. They made the long, humiliating walk back to the airport. But on the plane ride home, something inside Reed Hastings shifted. The fear and desperation were gone. They were replaced by a cold, hard rage. The humiliation of that laugh lit a fire in him. He wasn't just going to compete with Blockbuster anymore. He was going to destroy them. Today Blockbuster is bankrupt. A memory. That one store in Oregon is its only tombstone. And Netflix. That very small niche business is now worth over $200 billion. That single arrogant laugh didn't just cost Blockbuster $50 million. It cost them everything. Their empire, their future, their very existence. The war had just begun. Thanks for watching. If you want to see how Reed Hastings got his revenge and built his empire from the ashes, make sure you subscribe for part 2. You won't want to miss it.